All right. Hi, everyone. This is Off the Post, last Off the Post 2015. I'm actually literally here with Jen, and I forgot to click the thing on myself again, as I always do. Literally here with Jen. We're also here with Danielle. Danielle, anything been going on since we last saw you? Anything exciting going on?
I can't remember the last time I was on the show. So if it was before the championship, went to Portland. If it was sometime after that, no, just work. So
right on. So we're just gonna wrap up last two Victory Tour games, and give like a little preview into the start of the new year, and that's what I was talking about. Probably some Wambach talk in there also. Obviously, that was a big thing that happened the other day. So we'll get going, and we'll start off talking about not the right window. We'll start talking about we had two games since we last had a show, so I'll talk about the game that was on the 13th, which was Sunday, yeah. I believe. Sunday. Days are hard. So we'll kind of talk about both games, at a time, but we'll go with you first, Danielle. What were your expectations going into that game?
Well, I knew it was going to be a harder fought game than, playing Trinidad and Tobago. China was obviously in the World Cup. We played them in the knockout stages. They were really good during the Cup. So obviously it was going to be not as big of a margin. And so I expected a harder fought game. And it really was. I thought that they played us hard and really could have gone either way up until that second goal. So.
We're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna go through this whole. We're just gonna go through this whole game, and then we'll move on to the game. What were your thoughts on the lineups and the subs? Were you happy with who played and who came in, and was there anyone that stood out to you, either positively or negatively?
Well, I liked that Nair got the start, and got the 90 at that, which was nice, because it's a Victory Tour. It's a friendly, so this is the time where you get the backup keepers minutes, you get them playing, all that. So that was nice. Standouts, Press scored within 2 minutes of being subbed on. She's on fire. We were making a joke. We're like, oh man, she's being subbed on in the 70th minute. She might only score 1 or 2 goals, and then she scores within 2 minutes. So she was on form and continued to impress. Dunn got that really good looking goal, which was nice. So I thought they kind of stood out. I liked getting some of the younger people in, like Sonnet as a sub. Kind of wish we would have got Calaprico capped. Who else? Well, I kind of wish we'd have brought in a couple more people who hadn't got capped. Like, as much as I love seeing Hinkle play every game, that's really awesome. She's started got to play a lot of Victory Tours. I just would love for us to keep getting these young people capped and experienced. But I was really happy with the whole lineup, with the subs. Wish Press would have started. Obviously, I think she's in form a little better than some of the people who started over her. But yeah, it was a pretty good lineup.
Yeah, I wish the Sam Ewis would have played more in the last couple of Victory Tour games. She didn't really play much, and she's someone obviously I enjoy watching. What were your thoughts on the lineups and stuff like that?
Tobin.
Is that it?
Yeah, Tobin had that really awesome move over by the goal.
That was good. Yeah.
And if Carly would have gotten a good touch on that, I mean that would have gone in. Other than that, yeah, I'm gonna kind of agree with Danielle and say that I wish we brought in more younger players. The one that's coming to my head right now, after watching our defense play these last couple of games, is Megan Oyster. I'd love to see her get a call up and maybe get some time in there and get a cap with the U.S. national team, because we're cycling in new people in the defense, but as our old ones go out, like Krieger didn't play at all this last game, and it was visible. So, yeah, I think having someone like Megan Oyster in there would be able to help. But otherwise, yeah, I was pretty happy with it.
Speaking of this last game, as you mentioned, what were your thoughts on kind of how this last Victory Tour game went? What were your expectations going into it? How did that work out?
It went as I had expected. I mean, I said on the last show that I thought the strategy was just going to be launch everything toward Abby, and that's exactly what it was. So it went as I expected, and if you watch the post-game interview with Abby, she mentioned that we probably didn't score because she played for 70 minutes. And I think that's valid. I think that's, her sign that she's doing the right thing to retire. And I think that, it does speak a lot about the team, because when we saw her go off, we saw Press came in, we saw Dunn come in, and they started playing so much better at that point. So I think, it was to be expected. And I think this was a fair loss for them, because I think they wanted Abby to score more than they wanted the win. Neither one happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what they wanted.
Right. Danielle, what are your kind of thoughts? You just mentioned, obviously watching Abby play 70 minutes out of this game. Even they kind of mentioned on the broadcast they didn't think she was going to play more than 50 or so. Do you think, what do you think about the decision, I guess, to keep her in 70 ultimately costly, or, whether it really just wasn't worth it to try to get her that goal? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think it was costly. Obviously, she admitted she hadn't been really working out. She wasn't informed. She couldn't make those runs, but I don't think they cared. I didn't care. It's a friendly. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. So if she thought she could go 70, good for her. I'm not the biggest Abby fan in the world, but I wanted her to score because it's her last game. That's fun. So if she could have gotten 90, I would have been okay with that. So.
Right. What were your thoughts on some of the other lineup choices for this game? It was a little bit different than the first game against China.
Yeah. Again, I feel like everything was kind of geared toward Abby. We put Alex Morgan up top with her. She ended up getting injured because she's fragile. But aside from that, and that's been such a prominent combo these past years that I think even that combination up top was geared toward maybe Abby scoring a goal and going out the way she did. Definitely Carly Lloyd, Morgan Bryan in there. I think, they played so well with Abby in the past that was geared toward her. I think the only one that they didn't have in that would have been geared toward Abby would have been Christy Rampone, and that's because she was hurt. So, other than that, I think just the entire lineup was just geared toward Abby. I think even Hope being in there as opposed to Nair or Ash was even toward that. So, I can't really say that I thought it was a good or a bad lineup, knowing what they had in mind with it. Would I have played that if we were in Olympic qualifying? Absolutely not. But, for this game, I thought it was all right.
Mm-hmm. All right. A lot of people, we'll go to Danielle, because a lot of people were talking about a lot of people on social media were upset that not only did they lose for Abby's last game, but they were upset that this 104 game streak was broken. What are your thoughts on that? Is that really a stat that matters, or is that something that people you personally really are impressed by, or what are your thoughts on that whole streak being broke? Because I know that was a big issue that people were genuinely oh my God, the streak, and made a huge deal about.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad streaks don't mean anything at the end of the day. Records are just there to sound good. Personally, I was glad when we hit 100. After that, who cares? It was going to fall. It was going to fall probably soon. We have probably some really tough games in the spring. If that tournament is going to happen, Germany, France, those are really tough competitors. So if it's going to fall, let's just get it out of the way, get the pressure off. The team, I guarantee you, doesn't care about a streak. They're out there to play, just do their job. It's a fan thing. It doesn't matter.
The other thing that we mentioned right before we went on air too, about how kind of yeah, it's a great streak, but when you look at some of the people who they've played, especially at home, over the last 10 years, I'm not trying to take away from it. It's great when you can win 100 and something games in a row at home. However, or not even just win, not lose 100 something games at home. But when you look at who they're playing, it's kind of great, you didn't lose a game at home in 100 in 10 years, but look at who you've played mostly at home. It hasn't really been super tough competition. It's impressive, but not earth-shattering, I guess, in that regard, because, you know, and streaks are made to be broken. Records are made to be broken, you know. It's kind of almost fitting it happened in the last game of the year, though, like start the new year, maybe make a new streak. And we'll talk about kind of the new year in a second, but just overall, we'll go to Danielle first. What were your thoughts, you know, the last couple games that they've played of 2015? What were your overall, I know it's kind of hard because this last game almost didn't really, it counted, but it wasn't a normal game, but just what were your thoughts in the last couple games of 2015?
Well, I mean, all of the side circus, like, aside, all of that whole thing, I kind of really enjoyed it. I thought Jill was doing a really good, I'm complimenting Jill, but I thought she was doing a good job, you know, mixing up the lineups, experimenting, getting new people in there, which I thought was great. I thought I enjoyed them as much as I can enjoy a friendly, because by game 8 or 9, I was over it. I don't know about you guys. I was over the victory tour. So, yeah. I got distracted. I kept hearing my voice echo. So sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, and that begs another question. Like 10 victory game. Like I know we're trying to get everyone to get to see the team. 10 victory game tour too long? Thoughts?
Absolutely. It showed that it was a money-making thing. 10 games because you could put it in stadiums that can make the most money. The team didn't want to play all those games. A lot of fans didn't want to watch all those games. It was way too long. Plus, you know, we won the cup on July 5th. And Wednesday was the last victory tour. I can't even remember the final at this point.
Yeah, you're right on. Jen, your thoughts on the last couple games, you know, rounding out 2015?
Yeah, I kind of agree that the victory tour is maybe a little lengthy. I think it would be more than sufficient if we played each team once instead of playing them all twice. You know, and again, I do understand the money-making aspect, and I understand like the fans wanting to get to see the team actually like live, but it was really long. And I think another maybe benefit, maybe not, of having it so long this year was it gave opportunity for more of the players that were retiring to like kind of have their moment. But even that aside, it was really long. And we've done show after show after show after show proving how long it is. So, yeah. But no, I did enjoy the last couple of games. Again, like Danielle said, like all of the random circus acts aside, you know, it was a showcase of new players, which was nice. It was a showcase of old players, which was nice, or players we really don't get to see a whole lot with the national team, like Alyssa Nair. So it was kind of cool to see them in that environment, and to see them in an environment where they didn't have as much pressure. Like, yes, Olympic qualifying is coming up, and they need to keep that in mind, and they need to keep trying to earn their spot there. But at the same point, like, they didn't have the pressure of, oh God, this game like counts for something. So it was kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, I definitely like getting like the younger people to get to come in. I wish there had been some more of that, as was mentioned. But I like that we got to see more players come in and get capped and things like that. I do, again, with the lengthy. I don't ever want to say that it's like an obligation to watch the women's national team, because I always do enjoy watching them. But sometimes it's like, oh God, there's like another game. Like, especially in December, having 4 scheduled games within like X amount of days. I know we didn't play the first one, but I was like, oh my God, there's a game like every couple days. I'm like, oh my God, there's like a game. Even these last 2 games, I was like, I was thinking like, oh, Wednesday. And I was like, oh my God, there's a game on Sunday too. And I was just like, oh God, so many, all the games. Like, oh, this is a little bit overwhelming, but I get it. I just, yeah, like you said, the final was however many months ago, and we're just finally like ending the victory tour, and it's like, oh, okay, great. But yeah, I mean, it's over. It's great. Whatever. Probably not how they wanted to end the victory tour, but I feel like all of them are really happy that it's over too. Like, oh, thank goodness, this is over now. We can have a little bit of a break, and then, you know, come into camp for. You know, they have a game in January, which we're going to talk about in a second, but just in general, you know, Danielle, kind of talk about, obviously we know 2015 was a great year. They won the World Cup, but just talk about some of like, I guess maybe your thoughts as a whole on the whole, if we can think back the whole 2015, I guess, year for the U.S. Women's National Team.
Well, I mean, we started with the loss, we ended with the loss. It was a frustrating year, oddly enough, which is something weird to say when you won a World Cup. But you know, if you remember, basically up until Pino and Lauren got suspended for that game in the World Cup, everything before that was really frustrating to watch. Friendlies, the group stage game, and then we won and we started doing good. And then the victory tour got frustrating. It's just really frustrating, which is odd when you win a World Cup. But I loved watching the team. I love soccer, so it was great. Just a lot happening this year.
Yeah, exactly. Jen, other than like obviously winning the World Cup, any memorable moments, positively or negatively, that you just have to sum up the season? It's weird to call it a season. It's not really a season, but like the year in women's national team.
Yeah,
it's not a season.
I mean, again, with what Danielle said, you know, Jill Ellis at the beginning of the year, we were all like, "What are you doing? What is happening right now?" And now she's up for Coach of the Year. So, I mean, yeah, that speaks volumes to her, and it speaks volumes to the team, but also something that gets kind of overshadowed a lot, as it should, because, you know, we played the World Cup and we won it. But we also won the Algarve Cup, and we're the first team in history to win the Algarve Cup and the World Cup in the same year. So for me, that was a really cool thing, and I feel like the Algarve Cup kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit because it was a World Cup year, and we won that.
And I'm not even going to the Algarve Cup this year.
Yeah, but, like, we played a lot of tough teams in that, and we're going to face a lot of those teams again in the Olympics and in the tournament we'll have on home soil in 2016. So it was cool to see how we fared against them as well, because we didn't play a lot of the same teams in the World Cup that we played in the Algarve Cup. Like, it wasn't a repeat thing. So we got a broader idea of where we stand against the world watching both of them.
I'm going to, we're just kind of talking about, like you mentioned, Coach of the Year. I'm going to ask both of you this, and then I'll weigh in. And I have a feeling I think I know what Danielle might say, but U.S. Soccer Player of the Year, obviously Carly Lloyd got a lot of people making a case for Sauerbrunn. Danielle, what are your thoughts on that?
Obviously, Sauerbrunn, but it's hard to argue against Carly. Carly did have a good partial year, I guess. You know, if you take away the group stage, she had a good World Cup, basically the Pino holiday yellow card game, or suspension, excuse me, and beyond. And then she was really good for those games for the dash. And then she scored a lot of goals in the victory tour, usually at the beginning. But man, Becky's just had a solid year from beginning to end. We wouldn't have got to where we were in the World Cup if it wasn't for Becky having such a solid group stage. She's just quiet and she's good. You know, she saved our butts how many times? I mean, that Brazil, even in the victory tour, I mean, that Brazil save was one of the greatest defensive plays I've ever seen. And then she also had a really great club season. I mean, I don't know if she should have won Defender of the Year in the NWSL, but she made such an impact in the few games she did play that she won it for the third year in a row, and she won the NWSL title. I think that all of that combined, she should have probably won, but, you know, Carly had flash, and defense doesn't usually get awards, so trying to not rant too much.
I'm going to ask you, not an next to Casey first, and your thoughts on U.S. Soccer Player of the Year.
I actually didn't agree with a couple of the nominations. Like, I'm going to get gutted for saying this, but I didn't
do it. Just do it. This is what this show's all about, man. We piss people off sometimes.
I always piss everybody off.
Just go for it.
No, like, I didn't maybe think Pino deserved a nomination. I didn't think her year was solid enough to earn her that nomination. So there were a couple of cases that I was like, why are you, like, I can understand it from one aspect, but from another aspect, like, you can't put names like Becky Sauerbrunn and Carly Lloyd next to Megan Rapinoe. So I think that was one of those cases of, like, who else are we going to put in this nomination list? So, and I know that sounds terrible, but like Danielle said, it's hard to argue against Carly Lloyd when, you know, she kicks a freaking goal from 50 some odd yards out in the World Cup final. Like, that that's tough to argue against. But I agree that Brune should have gotten it. I don't even think we would have made it to the World Cup final had it not been for her. She played solid in the Algarve Cup. She played solid in the World Cup. She played solid the couple of games she had in the NWSL. So I do think it is just a case of the goal scorers are the ones who get the accolades.
Yeah, I agree with that also. I think a lot of people were like, there's no way like Sarah Brune should have won it. But I think when you look at overall, like, yes, some of Carly's goals are great. But even when you look at, if we're looking at NWSL as well, like when she came back from the World Cup, she was great for the World Cup, but like didn't really necessarily do a whole lot. Like didn't really score a lot of goals. She did when she before they left, a couple games she played was like great. When she came back was kind of like people were able to shut her down a little bit more. So I think if we're looking at like national team for the whole year, and if we're including like thoughts about NWSL for the whole year, I think that Sarah Brune ultimately was the best choice, but I think everyone expected that Lloyd was going to get it just because she was like, hat trick here, which again, like I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying if those were the options, I would have picked Sarah Brune. But people, when you watch this, if you ever watch this out there in the internet world, just let us know, #WorldSoTalk. Who do you think should have won a U.S. Soccer Player of the Year and why? So that kind of wraps up 2015. We're just going to do a quick little look ahead to we're gonna look ahead to 2016. Wow, words are hard. It's later than usual. We're actually gonna start off with a question from Jen Hayes. Kind of talking about, we mentioned the Four Nations tournament multiple times. We'll go to Danielle first. Jen asks, if this Four Nations tournament next year is a success, do you want to see it become a yearly thing? What are your thoughts on that, Danielle?
I think it would be great for us. I think that if we could get, quality opponents to come to our soil every year and have the chance to watch, I'd love to watch Germany and France play every year. It's great. So I would love to have it every year. The negative, I have a lot of friends who go to Algarve, so I'm sad for them because it's such a destination for a lot of, I don't want to say older WOSO fans, but a lot of the people who have been fans for a long time. I know that they have a huge group that goes every year, meets up with Europeans. So it's sad because I was planning on going in a couple years, but I mean, getting quality opponents on U.S. soil every year would be amazing. And I think it would really help, solidify, U.S. soccer to maybe some casual fans, keep them interested.
Great. Jen, thoughts?
I agree, particularly because, Algarve is held in a place where the major sport is soccer, which is not the case here. Here, we're still hunting, even for our men's team, we're still hunting for exposure. We're still hunting to make the sport kind of a big deal. So I think having that tournament annually, having those quality opponents here and being able to showcase not just our team, but the sport in general, I think is huge. I think it'll be a benefit to us. I think it'll be a benefit worldwide because whatever opponents we bring in, as of today, the rankings just came out. We're still number one. Mm-hmm. So they'd be coming here to play the number one team in the world on home soil. So it's great exposure for them too. So I think it would be a good thing all the way around to have it annually.
It's definitely a trade-off. I think, like you guys have mentioned, a lot of people love going to the Algarve. It's a good kind of trip to go through. It's a good, as far as like playing, it's a good little tournament to go to. But obviously, I think we're talking about perhaps, and this is something that people always have an issue with, is that the U.S. doesn't usually schedule quality friendlies. So to have a tournament on home soil that would have such quality teams, I think, as disappointing as it is to not have the Algarve, I think people ultimately, especially those who are like, God, they never play any good teams. And not to say they didn't play any good teams in the Algarve. They obviously, 2 years ago they came in like 7th, 6th or something like that in the Algarve. So they clearly had some issues and were playing decent teams. But I think if they're, like you said, Danielle, if they're able to get such high quality teams to come every year, I think that would be a great, even though it's actually people who want to go to the Algarve and you just want to go to see the U.S. play, I think it's ultimately better for development if we can play higher quality people, constantly, especially on home soil. Because I feel like a lot of games we played France and England at the beginning of the year, but they were not home games, and I think we have played France at home in the last couple of years, but I think a lot of the teams people see at home are not necessarily great games, and some people like the blowouts, but some people would really like to see a legitimately competitive match. So I think that if we're able to do that year after year, that would be great. So we'll see what happens. I think it's very, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but it kind of did all of a sudden. It was like, the U.S. is hosting a Four Nations tournament. And we're like, what? Great, like, awesome, but like, what happened there? We've gone to the Algarve every year for like ever, but that's cool. So just moving along, kind of talking about going into 2016. That's weird that that's happening soon. So Danielle, what do you think are some, if any, changes that the team needs to make moving forward into the new year? We're thinking about, obviously they have a friendly against Ireland on the 23rd of January, and then ultimately after that they have qualifiers. What do you think there's any changes that they need to make moving forward?
I think just keep experimenting with new players, getting people into the fold, seeing who has the best chemistry. Because I mean, we all know it's not about the biggest talent; it's about who works the best together. It's hard to tell. I'm really interested to see who they bring in in the January camp. I know that even years where we haven't experimented with the lineups as well, we still brought in a lot of players in January. So just young people in there, because I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. I dream that Jill will pick 18 to go to the Olympics and not cut the lineup down to 18. So like I said, I'm repeating myself, but finding the best chemistry, finding the best 18 that work together. So,
who are some players that you would like to see potentially get called into January camp?
Yeah. I'm going to try not to do my bias and say all FCKC people. So I'm trying to think of people outside of it. I would love to see what we did a couple years ago and bring in, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now, where we brought in 7 goalkeepers for a while just to bring people in. I would love that. Get the Abby Smiths in camp, Jen Campbell, just get those people in. So I'd love to see more goalkeepers. I mean, we did tell Jill, not that this is a youth, so it's kind of, I'm contradicting myself, but we did tell Jill at the final that she should call in Jen Buzzkowski, and we pointed to the fathead, and she saw us do it. So I'm just saying, you have one more chance, Jill. She didn't retire. Call in Jen Buzzkowski. She's a defensive mid. She's great. She's exactly what we need. So this is my campaign stump for Jen Buzzkowski.
And I feel like a lot of people would agree with you with that too, even myself not being FCKC to me is kind of not obviously like a fan or supporter. Like I'm kind of indifferent, but like she's someone who when I heard she was thinking about retiring, I was like, oh no, that's terrible. She's just so great to watch. She's someone I've always been wanting them to call in also, but we'll see. What are any changes that you think that they need to make / players you'd like to see called in the new year?
I mean, I've been preaching about goalkeepers all year, so definitely the goalkeepers. Particularly the young ones that stood out in the absence of the World Cup players this year. You look at Michelle Betos, you look at like Haley Kottmeyer, you look at Kelsey Weiss. They were just stellar, absolutely stellar, while their World Cup players were off. So I would love to see any of them or all of them in camp. Again, Megan Oyster, I think, she got totally shafted for Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. So I would love to see her in camp. Buzzkowski is another one. She's a good one to get called up. There are so many talented players right now that just are not getting the looks they deserve, and I don't know if that's per se maybe because their NWSL team didn't allow them to shine a whole lot, which may be the case because we see sparks of like individual talent on a team, but if the team performs like crap, it's tough to make a case there. So I think those guys would all be great call-ups. Other than that, I think the biggest challenge we might have is just filling in for those veteran players at this point and kind of shifting, because we are an older team. I think maybe shifting from the style we've been playing, the kind of older style of soccer, into this new kind of soccer that you see the younger teams playing, where it's more fast-paced, it's more tactical, it's definitely a different breed of the game, and I think that's going to be a challenge for us moving forward unless we bring in those younger players that play that way. Like we've seen it with Lindsay Horan, even just in the couple of games she's played. She's been playing like that because she plays for PSG. So I think
played for PSG.
Well, played for PSG.
Hasn't been made official yet, but we all know she's going to the Thorn. So
yeah. So, but that's kind of my thought on that.
I thought one more question before we move on to if anyone has any rants, and this might be a loaded topic, but I'm going there because you mentioned veteran teams. Opinion question: do we or do we not think that Rampone plays internationally in 2016? Danielle, I'm gonna go to you. Considering she's now been injured again, she talked about she would play if her body could hold up, and she, was obviously injured through the World Cup. She's been injured again now. Just an opinion. If you had to wager a guess, what do you think?
Well, no matter what, she'll at least play one game because she will get a send-off game. She, with all of her caps. I have a conspiracy theory, and it's crazy, and it's probably not right. Sky Blue doesn't have a coach yet. Rampone has not retired yet. I'm just saying that Christy Rampone should be the coach for Sky Blue. She's been a player coach before. That organization. Christy Rampone is Sky Blue. Just saying she'd be a good coach. So maybe they're holding off on announcing until she holds off on announcing, and maybe she held off so Abby could have her game. I don't know. I'm just saying it could happen.
Actually, I will say that that's been kind of tossed around a lot, just because, first of all, the fact that Sky Blue hasn't named a coach yet. The draft is in like a month. I'm really concerned for Sky Blue right now. Like, what are you doing with your life? But you're right. And what I forgot to mention beforehand was that I am glad that the other reason I'm glad about all these Victory Tour games is that people were kind of able to retire in batches. It wasn't like everyone's retiring at once.
It wasn't like when Mia. Yeah, because when Mia retired, that game was Foudy, Fawcett, and Mia. That's overwhelming.
Yeah, so I mean, well, I mean, I don't think that's actually like a fairly plausible. If we were on MythBusters, I'd say plausible. I guess we'll have to see what happens there. Jen, your thoughts?
I mean, that's totally valid. Shoops just went into coaching, so I mean, they're kind of gearing that way. Abby talked about possibly coaching, so I mean, the players that are retiring now are all kind of looking at that kind of to keep themselves involved in the game. So I'd back that in a heartbeat. I think if she's gonna retire, it's gonna be soon. Like, it's gonna be her send-off game is gonna be like that January 23rd against Ireland. Like, that's gonna be, all right, peace out, guys. Good luck in the Olympics. I'm gonna go coach this NWSL team. Good luck. If you need me, call me. You can still babysit my kids. It's fun. So I expect if she's gonna retire internationally, we're gonna hear about it soon. We probably would anyway, just because of the Olympic roster and everything. But I also think for her benefit moving forward in a career, one way or the other, she's going to make an announcement on that soon. And I think a lot of it is going to be based on her injury. I think she's going to see where she's standing. If she doesn't feel capable of playing anymore, she's not going to. She's well aware enough of her body, having played under the circumstances she's played under, to know when it's time to go. So I don't think we'll see her at the Olympics, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I actually think that, like I said, Danielle's theory is quite plausible. I mean, and they also mentioned that Sky Blue probably would not be making a coach announcement. Words are hard. Before the new year anyway. So I mean, that kind of also gives time to like finalize things and just like make a decision. And I could totally see U.S. Soccer like winging out the new year with, hey, by the way, like Rampone's retiring and it's going to coach Sky Blue. Great. But yeah, I think a lot of it depends. I know that was something that she mentioned when asked if she'd play again after the World Cup, was like how her body held up. And, we all want her to like, it just seems like things kind of caught up to her quickly. She was like Captain America and was like invincible and was amazing. And then she was hurt. And then was kind of just hurt throughout the World Cup, and now this other injury. We don't really know the seriousness of it. We know it was enough to shut her down for all of December, but we don't know, the seriousness of the injury or how her body's going to recuperate from it. But I definitely don't think that we see her. I don't think that she'll make it to the Olympics. I don't think that, especially I don't see that happening, but I guess we'll find out. But the fact that she may even retire earlier than that, we could see her send-off game coming shortly. I guess we'll have to stay tuned, but either way, Sky Blue needs a coach. So whether it's right opponent or not, they probably should get that together and figure that out because, the draft is soon. You want to probably have your coach talking
months ago.
So. Yeah, just a thought. All right. So that kind of runs up what? No.
Thanks.
It's quite a bit of a commute to coach the Sky Blue people. So anyways, that kind of wraps up our year in review and preview and things like that. Danielle, do you have anything you want to rant about or any way, shape, manner, or form?
I'm not too ranty. People have been dramatic lately with Alex Morgan versus Kristen Press. Just chill out, guys. Just because one's maybe should get the start over the other, it's a team. It's not about Alex. It's about who's the best player. It's okay if she doesn't get the start. I promise you, it's okay. Just everyone chill out.
Right on. Do you have anything you'd like to rant about?
No, I'm pretty happy. I'm good.
Great. I talked about this last time. I'm not going to really rant about it, but it became official yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever. Western New York Flash, what are you doing? What are you, literally, I don't. I just don't. Okay, we'll come back to you. To first round pick in 2017, that will be very helpful. That's going to be a great draft class. Excellent. But still a second round draft pick this year, and that for Becky Edwards, who was the Flash's solid veteran, even though she was only there for a year, she was her co-captain, great. And Edmonds, who was solid when she got minutes, I don't know what they're doing. It's like the fire sale, everything must go. It's like last year they were trying to build, they had a young team trying to build the team together, and now all their veterans that were on the team last year are gone, and so now I just don't know what I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on, but I guess we'll find out. It's going to be, unfortunately, I feel another rough year for the Flash fans, but we'll see what happens there. I'm just gonna stop it there. I had a Twitter rant about it the other day when it actually became official, and I found out they got those draft picks. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing with your life? But Flash, get it together, please. People, make it happen. Going back to your rant that you forgot you had, go.
Yeah, it actually has absolutely nothing to do with soccer.
Great.
But those of you dishing out Star Wars spoilers, you guys suck. Stop it. You're like Satan.
Oh my God.
I went at a 10:55 showing last night, and I got spoiled before that. What is wrong with you?
Oh God, I avoided everyone because I went at 7 o'clock last night, and I just avoided people like the plague until I got to go. I was not on the internet. I would not talk to anyone. I did not want it spoiled. So everybody who is, stop it.
I was good. I did, and thanks for being good. I wanted to just know how good it was. I know you went yesterday, and I was like, spoiler free. How was the movie? Great, thank you. Oh, it was good. That's all I needed to know. We're going Sunday, so. But yes, people don't do that. But yeah, so that was it. This is the last episode of Off the Post for 2015. Thanks for joining us, Jen and Danielle, and thanks for everyone for watching this year. We'll be back sometime. Watch the space. We'll be back sometime next year with hopefully the return of a familiar face that we've all missed, hopefully, and more awesome shows. So if you have anything you want to talk to us about until then, keep using hashtag WOSOTalk. We'll hit you back on social media and all that jazz. And otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a safe winter break, holiday, New Year, whatever you got going on in the next couple weeks. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.